For the invocation offered by Alder Weary. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
Huh?
that stands one nation under God.
You want to see this?
With liberty and justice for all.
That's the picture of the council.
Okay, this is our former Alder Mark Stoyer, who's on Zoom.
It's live.
Gone but not forgotten.
You can please be seated for this. It's kind of fitting Alder Stoyer, former Alder Stoyer's on here because this is an homage to Alder Scannell and Alder Stoyer, who loved poetry, and Mark usually wrote his own. I don't, but I'll read one. This was from one of my mom's books. She loved Helen Steiner Rice, so I found it and I thought it would be appropriate. It's a thankful heart. Take nothing for granted, for whenever you do, the joy of enjoying is lessened for you. For you rob our own lives much more than we know when we fail to respond or in any way show our thanks for the blessings that daily are ours, the warmth of the sun, the fragrance of flowers, the beauty of twilight, the freshness of dawn, the coolness of dew on a green velvet lawn, the kind little deeds so thoughtfully done, the favors of friends, and the love that someone unselfishly gives us in a myriad of ways, expecting no payment and no words of praise. Oh, great is our loss when we no longer find a thankful response to things of this kind. For the joy of enjoying and the fullness of living are found in the heart that is filled with thanksgiving.
Thanks for sharing all that. Next on to approval of the minutes. Motion to approve the minutes from our previous meeting made by Alder Prophet, seconded by Alder Eck. Any changes there? Seeing none, all in favor will say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The minutes are approved. Approval of the agenda. Motion to approve made by Alder Presley, seconded by Alder DeLee. Any amendments, changes there? Alder Stevens.
I'd like to make an amendment to move R after M.
Say R after
M.
M as in Mary. All right. Is there a second for that amendment? Seconded by Alder Prophet. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The agenda has been amended. Looking for a motion to approve as amended, offered by Alder Presley, seconded by Alder Prophet. Discussion there. Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The agenda has been approved as amended. Next, report by the mayor. Just real quick, we've got it's the season of lightings. We've got the Peace Tree lighting over at the courthouse coming up. Broadway's got a big lighting festival. The Festival of Lights out at the Botanical Garden, which is always a great annual event. And then, of course, we have our downtown parade, which is coming up, not this upcoming weekend, but the following one. So it's a great time in the community to get out there to celebrate the season, celebrate one another. And so just would encourage you all to attend. That's it for me. On to announcements from our council. Any alders? Going once, going twice. Alder Johnson.
The only reason I'm going to bring this up now is because I'm hopeful that the RDA probably won't see much discussion, but I do want to commend the mayor, the administration, particularly Department of Community and Economic Development. There are a number of development agreements on there related to housing, and I think it's really important to acknowledge that we identified that crisis when we did the housing study in 2020, and I'm really proud of the way that our staff has stepped up to bring us proposals to look at that address housing needs across the spectrum. And it's not just one area, it's everywhere. And we're doing it with really good volume all across the city. So really, again, just don't know if those items will be pulled, but wanted to commend staff for the great work you've done there.
Appreciate that, Alder. Seconded that for sure. Any other comments? All right, no recognitions and awards. On to appointments. We've got one appointment there, a reappointment for the Green Bay Area Room Tax Commission. Motion to approve made by Alder Prophet, seconded by Alder Weary. Any discussion there? Seeing none, all in favor will say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and that reappointment has been made. Next, we have a public hearing. So this is a public hearing on a request to create a 3-lot certified survey map that includes public street dedication at 2035 Crestwood Springs Drive, parcel 6H, 6H-4449. 2041 Crestwood Springs Drive, that's 6H-4448. 2045 Crestwood Springs Drive, 6H-4447. 0 Bayberry Court, 6H-1247-2. And 0 Packerland Drive, parcel 6H-1247-3. CSM 24-15, public hearing held October 7th, 2024. Is there anyone here who'd like to speak to that item? Anyone from the public who'd like to speak to that? Any members of the public? Let the record reflect that there are no members to speak on that item, clerk. Next, we're moving along to ordinance's second reading for adoption. Motion to suspend the rules and take up these items with one roll call vote offered by Alder Profit, seconded by Alder Johnson. Discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. All right, motion to adopt made by Alder Johnson, seconded by Alder Profit. Any discussion here? Seeing none, we will use the board.
Alder Johnson?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, and those ordinances are adopted 12-0. Next, we're on to Committee of the Whole for consideration and possible action on an update related to the Lambeau Field lease negotiations.
Let's go into closed session.
Alder Johnson moves to go into closed session, seconded by Alder Hinkfuss. Alder Johnson, you got the language?
Council may convene in closed session pursuant to section 19.85 subsection 1 subsection A Wisconsin statutes for purposes of deliberating or negotiating the sale of public properties, investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business as necessary for competitive or bargaining reasons. The council will thereafter reconvene in open session pursuant to section 19.85 subsection 2 Wisconsin statutes to take action on items discussed in closed session if appropriate and to consider the remainder of the agenda.
All right, thank you, Alder. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, we'll use the board.
You may vote.
All right, that motion is adopted unanimously. And just for the public, we're going to be going into closed session. We'll be back as soon as possible, and then we'll be on to the rest of the agenda, which next is the Plan Commission. Thanks so much for your patience. Just waiting for a few city staff, and then we'll get back to the meeting. All right, we are back in business. So I've called back to order the meeting of our common council here, and would entertain a motion to return to regular order of business. Alder Johnson makes a motion to return to regular order, seconded by Alder Prophet. All in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Alder Johnson.
Motion to proceed as directed in closed session.
Alder Johnson makes a motion to proceed as directed in closed session. That was seconded by Alder Prophet. Any discussion? Alder Weary? A board vote? Sure. Absolutely. Roll call vote has been requested by Alder Weary. So we will do that.
You may vote.
All right, and that is unanimous 12-0. So with that, there was an amendment made to the agenda. So we're going to go from M to R, which is the report of the Plan Commission. Motion to approve made by Alder Prophet, seconded by Alder Johnson. Items here to be handled separately. Item 4. Any others? Seeing none others, all in favor of approving the remainder of that report will signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The report has been approved with the exception of item 4. Your wishes on item 4? Alder Stevens?
Yeah, thank you, Alder. There's people from the public that would like to speak on this item, but before we move forward of opening the floor, I do have some comments to make.
Go ahead.
Okay, we are here tonight to discuss a request to amend a PUD, planned unit development, located at 226 Borneman Street. Because of this amendment, it has become an important and sensitive matter. The proposal to establish a drug and alcohol facility in this neighborhood. While the need to support those struggling with addiction is undeniable, it's essential to consider the support that Summit will bring to our community, which is the development. The neighborhood is a place for growth, safety, and unity. As we welcome new neighbors and build this part of our community, we must ensure that any addition Summit brings to this area will enhance rather than hinder our collective well-being. The introduction of a drug and alcohol facility raises several concerns. We must think about the potential future changes, the impact in helping with addiction from a local resource, and the overall safety and quality of life that will bring to the families and individuals. There are valid considerations that have been thoughtfully discussed. Let's work together to find a solution that supports those in need while also preventing the integrity and safety of this neighborhood. I feel we find that balanced solution will benefit everyone by amending the current PUD. After we hear from the residents from the neighborhood and from Allison from Summit, I possibly will have additional language to add to the amended PUD. Before we open the floor, I feel it is beneficial to understand why there is an amendment to PUD before us. If Director Renier Wig would clarify the difference between the current PUD and the reasoning for this amendment PUD.
All right.
Director.
Thanks so much for your comments, Alder. Director Renier Wig.
Right. So there was originally a PUD on this parcel, and it's probably about 23 years old. And looking at the PUD, it's dated in a number of ways, just with definitions where things have changed from the state. But this project would have fallen under this old PUD and really been it. Would have been okay to use the old PUD with the exception of the kitchen facilities that they're requesting to do. They're looking to cater food in right now, and in the future move to doing a commercial kitchen. So we looked at updating this PUD because it's really beneficial to both sides to do that, the developer and to the city. Because again, a 20-year PUD's got a lot of old definitions in it. It allows us the ability to update it. It allows us the ability to add the things that you talked about, potentially adding, and comments from the neighbors. So there's really not a whole lot of differences between the two other than the updates to some of the state code.
Alder Stevens,
Is that
any
helpful?
follow-up?
Open the floor.
Alder Stevens makes a motion to open the floor. That was seconded by Alder Prophet. All in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The floor is open. Just so folks are aware, this is R4 to approve the request to amend a plan unit development located at 226 Borneman Street. So if anyone would like to speak to that item, just approach the podium, state your name and address, and then we provide 3 minutes for comment. Would anyone like to speak?
Hello, my name's Steve Conkle. I live at 120 Burger Street, about six houses down from Borneman's. I'm in support of drug and alcohol rehab facilities like the one proposed at 226 Borneman Street. However, facilities surrounded by residential single-family houses, as well as over 300 senior apartments and Baird's Creek Trail is not the right location. Last night, I discovered an article dated June 5th, 2024 from NBC 26 News. I emailed it to all the alderpersons today. I hope you receive that. The article shocked me when I found out Summit was turned away in Hobart after many residents spoke out of concern for safety, privacy, and property values. Excuse me. Hobart Chief of Police Rankus gathered data from police departments near existing facilities owned by Summit. He found incidents varied from 911 calls, disturbances, runaways or missing persons, threats of harassment, trespassing complaints, as well as arson and sexual assault. With this being the case and recently discovering this, we had a Zoom meeting last night. I didn't know this prior to that. I discovered it afterwards, the article from NBC 26. With that being the case, I oppose the approval of the facility, given the location. At minimum, what I would request right now, I think the vote should be tabled and there should be more neighborhood awareness, more involvement from the neighborhood, more discussion on it before the vote is revisited. So that's what I would ask tonight, is to table it to next month. And I would also ask that the city have a mailing list that includes more than 400 feet from the site. I live 460 feet away. When I look out my kitchen window, I can see the facility, but I wasn't informed. I didn't get a letter. So I don't know, a 5-block radius, something like that, which would, incorporate more people into the discussion, more feedback, more ideas. I think that's all good ideas. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for? I think we got a couple questions from alders. Alder Presley, then Alder Galvin.
I'm looking at my email.
Alder Presley first. Alder.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for your testimony. I did see the article that you sent, and I did see that police chief had mentioned that there were different crimes reported at that or around locations owned by Summit. I didn't get the sense from the article, however, that these were reported at a higher rate than in different areas of the cities, or that they were uniquely tied to those facilities. Have you seen more on that? Did you get a different sense?
The article does say when he investigated the properties of Summit that these were specifically tied to Summit.
Okay.
That was my understanding of it.
Thanks, Alder. Alder Galvin.
Thank you, Your Honor. That was going to be my question too. If there's any connection to these incidents, we have a number of facilities like this, number of facilities like this in Green Bay, some of them downtown, most of them near residential areas. I don't recall any issues with any of these facilities, including the mental health center on the Far East Side, the Brown County Jail, where individuals are released from those facilities on a daily basis to walk back into town and get a bus and get back where they belong. So I'm just hoping we're not throwing out, the baby with the bathwater here, because we have a report from a police chief, but we can't verify how many of those incidents were actually related to residents from these facilities.
I appreciate that. And I had spoken to you on the phone. I had the pleasure to speak to you, and you actually suggested that I reach out to the police to do that. And I never did do that, unfortunately. Okay. Right. So then to your question, I don't know the answer because I just my girlfriend actually phoned the article last night. We had phoned one article, which just kind of talked high level. And then after the Zoom meeting, she said, I wonder if there's anything else out there. And she found the NBC 26 article, which went more in depth than the previous article, to the point where Police Chief Rankus did investigate it. Now, I had to work today, unfortunately, and I didn't read that till 9 o'clock. I sent it to Alderperson Stevens I think it was last night or early this morning. But I've had really very little time to look into it, and I guess that's kind of my point is, especially with this, we had a lot of neighborhood concerns. We have a lot of, like I said, over 300 senior citizens within a football field distance of the facility. So that was the initial concern. But as far as this goes, we haven't had much time to look any further into it. And that's why I would urge the council to at least table this for a period. I know in Hobart, they went May, June, July, and then I believe Summit pulled out in July, like the article states. Summit, I think, pulled out like July. So it was over a period of time. Sure. Where this, from my first knowledge of this, which was from my neighbor who lives 200 feet away, to now today is 3 weeks that I've even been aware of this, going on.
All right. Well, I appreciate the fact you're willing to take a longer look at it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah.
Alder Prophet.
Thank you for coming and for your testimony tonight. So you had ended your comments by saying you wish for us to table this to get more awareness out in your neighborhood, which I can absolutely appreciate. I live right next to one of these facilities and I was not given that notice. So I can absolutely appreciate where you're coming from with that. Outside of spreading the awareness, are there any specific things that you are taking issue with and what is being proposed?
Beyond the bringing awareness, I guess really it's a dive into if this is a good fit. You know, if it's a good fit with the surrounding community, with the seniors. There's really no representation of the seniors here. We did do a petition. We got over 100 signatures. Very few of them, I think 4 of them are from the seniors, because I don't actually know the rules or laws, but I didn't go into the facilities and push buttons and try to get people to come down if I saw them outside smoking. I explained, hey, this is what's being proposed. Do you support it or oppose it? But most of the seniors, to be honest, I don't even think they know about it. As far as I know, they didn't get any letters, and there's over 300 of them. If you look at the map, there's Dimensions, which is literally right across the street, which I would estimate about 50 units. And then Parkway Landings, some of the tenants told me there's 220 units there. And then there's also a disability housing down across the field from them. So I estimate it to be right around 300 seniors within 250 yards at least.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you, sir.
thank you.
Anyone else from the public?
Alders, Mayor, Scott Martell. I reside at 1904 Deckner, and like Steve was saying, I can see the facility from my living room, but I didn't get a notice because I'm much farther than that 400 feet. So to that community awareness.
So would you mind just pulling the mic a little bit?
Oh, sorry. So again, to that community awareness point, it would be nice for more people to be able to put more eyes on, so we can find better solutions to some of these issues. So in an effort to work with the facility and find that balance that meets both their operational needs and the community's safety concerns, I would like to make a request that if we could possibly restrict the entry and exit times. From my understanding, they're free to come and go kind of as they please. That raises a lot of late night safety concerns, early morning concerns. There's a lot of children that are walking to Preble early out in the morning. I would recommend a 9 p.m. to 8 a.m. locked door. We could call it a curfew time due to the facility's proximity to the residential neighborhood. And then additionally, those restrictions could help to minimize some of those disruptions and provide a more controlled environment for the clients that they're trying to serve. And again, this is to try to find that balance so that we can get people the help that they need while protecting our families and the community that we live in. I also had an idea for kind of like a points-based system for to the point of the questions raised about the facility itself causing more of those problems. If we could have some sort of like points-based system for any incidents that are directly related to that facility. I was thinking kind of like your driver's license. You drive 5 miles over, you get a point. You drive 100 miles over, you lose your license. So depending on how that is negatively impacting the immediate community, we could potentially have some kind of system in place that would allow some sort of control for how the facility is being operated and minimizing some of that impact. I actually have a kind of just a little workup that I did very quickly this afternoon, kind of outlining some of that.
Great. Any question? Well, first, just on that last point, I was wondering if Director Bernier Wig or Chief Davis might be able to just talk about nuisance properties, right? Because we do have a system within City Code that allows us to, crack down on behaviors that are inappropriate, that are associated with a particular address, and repercussions that are that come in line with that. So, I don't know who wants to go first. Director.
There's a two-pronged approach, really, inspection and police department. So if there are inspection-related issues, maintenance of the property, keeping of the grounds, those types of things, you can make those complaints to the city. If we get too many of those, then we bring all the parties in, right? We can. There are some things we can do to increase fines and increase citations. So if we deem it a public nuisance, then things get a little bit harsher for you if you're an owner. But we normally work with the police department as well. I think your concerns are probably more police based, right?
Correct.
With regards to potential for residents, that type of
Yes, ma'am.
situation. I'll let the chief handle how we handle those for multiple police calls.
Sure, it's a similar process for police calls. So if there's enough qualifying calls within a designated period of time, then our community policing folks will go. We'll issue them a property referral letter, and the goal is to try to sit down with whoever is responsible for the property and work out an abatement plan. Eventually, we can get the city attorney's office involved if we need to, and basically shut the property down. That's pretty rare. But qualifying calls would be things like disturbances or fights, those kind of things. Things that don't qualify would be domestic violence incidents, obviously, because we don't want to move domestic violence survivors out of housing, that kind of thing.
Thank you both for that. Questions from our alders for our guest? Alder Presley?
So you mentioned the safety of the neighbors. What are your concerns with safety from this behavioral health facility?
And again, that stems from my understanding that it is a voluntary stay and that they would be able to leave at any time that they want. So say you get into an altercation with a staff member or another resident at 9:30 at night, and you decide, screw this, I'm done, and then they walk out. Now they're in a residential neighborhood. It's late at night and they're angry. You don't know what that's going to do. I've got 2 small children in 3 and 4K. My neighbors have 3 small children. There's a lot of kids in the neighborhood, and that's not something that they need to see or be exposed to. To the chief's point of having the nuisance calls and all that, I guess what I'm after is a little bit more transparency on what that looks like. Because yes, we have these things in place, but after a time, what does that mean? How long can some of these things go on and be detrimental, and how long are we going to put children and other people potentially in harm's way before those repercussions become severe enough to make them change policy and procedure on how they're operating the facility?
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Good evening. I'm Allison Danielle. I live at 2782 Continental Drive in Green Bay. I am here to represent Summit. I'm the CEO of Willow Creek Behavioral Health on the Far East Side, and I'm the Wisconsin Market CEO that has oversight of our sister hospital in Middleton and an outpatient day treatment clinic in Pewaukee. We held our initial neighborhood meeting per the city's direction on October 22nd. We were at the planning meeting last week, and after that planning meeting, we had a request for additional conversation from the community members that were there. So we held a Zoom meeting last night, short time frame from the planning committee, and today. We had basically the same people at the first neighborhood meeting as we did last night. So although I understand they have signatures, we have not had any other participants to have the conversation. But what I do want to do is address a couple of the questions. Yes, we are a voluntary program, but that does not mean they come and go at whatever time they want throughout the day. They are residents with us for approximately 30 days. 28 to 35 is your average length of stay. These residents don't leave the property unless they're escorted by staff. So it's not a curfew component where they come in, do a couple groups, run to the grocery store, come back in later. No, they live there. This is where they stay. Our facilities have a system called Observe Smart that is an electronic monitoring of every single resident in that building at a minimum of every 15 minutes. So we have eyes on that patient, an electronic record of eyes on that patient resident every 15 minutes. If they leave our property, it's with a staff member who continues to have eyes on that individual anytime that they're gone. Our properties have security cameras inside and out. The PUD, really the goal is for us to be able to get up to county code 2000 2001 was a very long time ago. Things have changed, so getting the language up to date as we renovate the building and getting the building up to date so that it's appropriate is really what we're looking for. And then the catering service, so that if the kitchen, which is part of the old nursing home part, isn't renovated prior to the first phase one, we would be able to cater in versus trying to cook on the property. I want to speak to the police report from Hobart real quick. So what Hobart chief had done was he contacted random Summit facilities, the chiefs of police in those areas to ask if there was any additional calls, etc. He did not call apples to apples. This is a 100% voluntary SUD, substance use disorder. There was a combination in this report of involuntary programs, acute psychiatric hospitals. They just called a random number. We don't know which ones they called, but the chief did share that it was just random picking of whoever got back to him, quite honestly. So as far as that, I would encourage you to recognize that this is people choosing to come to the facility to get help with their addiction. We will be partnering very closely with Willow Creek, so individuals who have a mental health component, in addition to their substance use, will get either medical detox and or their mental illness stabilization before they would transition to this type of a program. Are there any questions I can answer?
All right. Any questions from council?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Alder Hinkvist.
So this is considered This is considered an inpatient.
Correct. Inpatient residential services. is what this is.
Inpatient residence. So you don't do any outpatient.
Not at this site.
Not at this site. And you talked about Willow Creek.
Mhm.
So you do mostly mental health there, not substance abuse.
Willow Creek does primary mental health, dual diagnosis, which is a primary mental health and a secondary addiction. And then we also do medically managed detox. So those patients are going through the immediate withdrawal symptoms of detox and needing that medical support. They would get that detox at Willow Creek before they would come to this facility if they were actively using.
Okay. And so you're using a lot of the providers. What type of staffing will be at the CBRF?
So we will have psychiatric providers, so psychiatrists and psych nurse practitioners. We'll have therapists, substance abuse counselors, nursing around the clock, behavioral health associates around the clock to help individuals throughout their programming. And this is 7 days a week. So it's not a matter of everybody goes home and there's one person walking the halls. We staff so that we have eyes on every 15 minutes, 24 hours a day.
Okay.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Yeah, Alder Grant.
I know you mentioned 28 to 30 days people are typically there. At what success rate are you seeing people actually stay those amount of days versus 2 weeks in saying, I'm done with this, I'm leaving?
So we don't have one of these facilities in this area, and it certainly is going to differ very much based on the population that you're serving. I can tell you that I could get you estimates, but for exactly what type of completion program at this site, we don't know yet. Our other sites that have primarily voluntary or are 100% voluntary sit in that 97 to 99% success rate of completing the 30 days.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Thanks, Alder. Any other questions? All right. Thanks so much for your testimony.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right. Anyone else from the public who'd like to speak? We don't entertain questions from the gallery, unfortunately. So go ahead, sir.
Hello, everyone. My name is Troy Main. I'm an attorney with the DeWitt Law Firm, the Madison office, 25 West Main Street, Madison. I have been representing Summit and helping them with some of their siting issues, both in Hobart and here in Green Bay. And I just wanted to speak to a couple of topics. I think the director raised a few of the points that I wanted to make earlier. But since Hobart came up, I wanted to just briefly talk about that. I do want, we're not here to talk about Hobart other than it's been raised. That was a very unique residential facility. And if you've read the article, you know it was kind of an unusual sort of site. And And I think you should know that there was no denial at Hobart that at some point in time, Summit made a decision that withdrawing its application and maybe seeking a location that was better suited might be a good idea for a variety of reasons. Which I think brings me to the other thing I wanted to emphasize, which the director brought up as well. I mean, I think that's exactly what we have at the Bornemann site. We have a PUD for that expressly authorizes, CBRF uses, community living arrangement type uses. These are buildings that were built for that purpose. This is a zoning category that at this point allows for that purpose. We met with the city staff. We've participated in the process, as the director said, because there's kind of a two-way street. It helps the city and it helps our organization as well. So I think we just kind of wanted to point that out that we think this is a good location because there was previously a CBRF that was located there. There's a difference. One was a senior housing facility. This one is a drug and alcohol residential treatment facility. From our standpoint, we think those are both appropriate health uses, and this is the right site for the location. So I can answer any other questions that anyone else might have.
All right. Anyone have questions? Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? All right. A motion to close the floor made by Alder Johnson, seconded by Alder Prophet. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The floor is closed. Alder Stevens.
The system is new, so I wasn't here last time, so I can hear myself. But and thank you for everybody that came out and had a discussion on this evening. It's greatly appreciated. But we have to realize we currently have a current PUD on here. Summit may take possession. If we vote yay or nay on this, they can still move forward. So if any alders have any discussions they'd like to talk about, let's talk about it. So.
Alder Johnson.
Director Renierwig, just because this point had been brought up, and we of course hear this from time to time when these requests come before us, the 400-foot requirement that's established by state statute, is that correct?
That's a planning department, or that's a plan commission policy.
Does the state statute though have a limit threshold for PUDs for notification?
I don't believe so.
Okay, so
We choose to do that through the
yep,
plan
okay,
commission.
and that goes to the property owner versus the resident. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and it's really
The
because
mail-
we don't
the
know who the
mailing does.
residents are, right? Unless
Well-
they're the same person.
Right. We do the mailings. We do the mailings to the owners of the properties and ask that they share that. We place a sign on that property in hopes that if you don't get a letter and know about it, or you live further away, you can see it as well. We do posts on social media. We do, of course, the notice in the press gazettes. We try to get the word out. But
Okay. And then the two community meetings that were hosted, I know initially at least one was by recommendation of the planning department. The second one really came, I think, at the urging of Alder Stevens, if I'm not mistaken. But those are not required, right? Those are above and beyond.
I think we ask them to do that, but they're
Right.
really not a requirement.
Yep.
It's more
Okay.
of a policy.
Okay. And then, and again, I think this was alluded to a little bit, but I think it's worth restating that the PUD as it exists today does allow this use. Is that correct?
That's correct. Looking at the original PUD, again, it's dated. It's got some old language in it from the state, but it does allow community living arrangements, CBRFs listed in
So,
the original
so really, the
PUD.
only action today, if there are any amendments to be offered, or the review of the plan commission, right, and the edits recommended by staff, really just makes it stronger and better.
Correct. That's the reason why we encourage it, because we could clean it up as well and add those kitchen facilities and catering services to this.
Okay.
Which
And
wasn't there.
again, I think it's just worth clarifying, right? Like they're really not asking for permission to do this because they already have it under the existing PUD. This just makes it function better for that neighborhood right now.
Right. We do need to update it with regards to, again, that kitchen and catering
Yep,
situation, but that's pretty small compared to all the other things that are in this document.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Comments? Alder Presley.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a question for Chief Davis. I know putting you on the spot maybe, but do you get a sense that there is an increased rate of crime or violent crime around the facilities that do exist in the city? I know we said with comparing Summit properties, we're maybe comparing apples to oranges.
So, it, just at the high level, with facilities like this, it really depends on the operator of the facility and how well we're able to work with them. I know that there is a facility out on Ontario Road, and we had a conversation with our staff today about this. And what they're telling me is that that facility is pretty easy to work with from a police standpoint, that they're, when we need to get a hold of them, we can. If there are issues, we can. They've been have a history of being pretty easy to work with. There are, just looking back in history at the Ontario Road facility, yes, there are lots of records in our system. I show 231 event results since probably 2015, which is a little misleading because some of these are the same incident, just 3 or 4 different entries for the same incident. But just that number alone, you really can't draw conclusions. A lot of these are things like, these facilities tend to be mandatory reporters of things like abuse. And so a lot of these are calls that you would expect to have and that you would want to have if they're experiencing these things. What, just from my team's analysis that we were able to do when we became aware this was coming up this afternoon, it sounds like we really don't have a lot of recent disturbance history or anything like that at the facility out in Ontario. Some of these things are traffic accidents in the neighborhood that aren't even connected to the facility. So, long way of saying it really just depends. And you can't say that just because there's this number of police records that that's even necessarily a bad thing. We have schools with hundreds of calls for child abuse. Well, we want people to report that to us. That's not a nuisance. So, not a super high confidence estimate I can give you to compare a facility out on the east side that is going to be a little different than the one that's proposed, but I don't see any super big red flags here.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Chief. Any other comments? Alder Hutchinson.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm on the Plan Commission. I was the lone no vote taken last week. And my no vote was not based on procedure. It was based on communication. I heard the speakers. Some were the same people here. And this isn't the only project this happens on. I'm wondering if we can learn from this and somehow take that 400 feet, look at a plan map, and then if there are large facilities with many people right next to the 400 feet, if they cannot be notified or a sign placed in the front of the building or something, because what I've heard the developer say has consistently addressed concerns stated by people, but not all the people apparently are there. That's frustrating to me. But at the same time, there was some good hard questions asked, and there were answers given that didn't pale. They weren't like made up. They were trying to answer the question. So like safety, we can have extra lights. We can have video outside. The fact that the people are going to have wrist monitors. I think this is all addressing to some extent concerns. Now, children next in the neighborhood, that's concerning, but the facility's already there and it's just waiting to be developed. Apparently, it's abandoned right now to some extent, and people who have been in the building said there are people possibly getting in there and not legally. They're just there. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what was stated. So the existing site condition is not currently safe. So something's going to have to be done. So after hearing the meeting last night on Zoom, I attended that. I'm literally on the fence. The new information brought up tonight about the other police department investigating, it's troublesome in two regards. One, of what was brought up, but also how pertinent is it? Are these facilities similar to what that facility is going to be? Because that facility that has been described is pretty well maintained. It's not like people are there and then they're not being accounted for. They're being accounted for every 15 minutes. So I think the ideas brought up are good regarding, do we want to limit the time frame in and out? It sounds like we don't need to, but maybe we want to look at that. But we do need these facilities in our city. We just need them. There's so many people that have addictions that are wanting a way out. These are people who want a way out. So I'm kind of leaning towards approving this with the additional conditions.
Thanks, Alder. Other comments? Alder Eck.
I'm just looking for a clarification because my understanding is this project is moving forward. It's already approved for this particular use. It's just a matter of the conditional use permit for the kitchen renovations or things like that with the actual building. So I just want, I want to make sure that that's actually factual.
Yeah. On that, Director Renier Wig, anything else to add? Or?
Oh, I really don't. I mean, we would prefer the PUD be passed the way that it's written now in the updated form with the extra provisions in it. But as I've been told by the planners, the old PUD actually allows the CBRFs and the CLAs in the PUD. So,
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Alder Presley for a second time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'm on board with approving this. I think, as Alder Eck and Director Renier Wig brought up, regardless of whether or not we approve it, it is going to go forward, but we have extra updated language if we approve it. That makes sense to me. I think this is a facility that is going to be needed, and it is a voluntary facility, and I want to remind the public of that this is people who want help going in to seek help. Anecdotally, I used to work for a security company at a hospital, and there's a big difference between people who self-admit, who want to come in and get help for the problems that they face, behaviorally or addiction related, than people who are brought in handcuffs. And even the people who brought in handcuffs are not really that bad. I was once kicked in the face, but that was actually by an old woman. I don't want to mischaracterize, though, the residents of this facility as being necessarily or even statistically dangerous to the community. It is statistically more likely that you're going to have dangerous individuals around a liquor shop than you are at a behavioral health facility. So I just want to make sure that we're not mischaracterizing people seeking help as people who are not also going to be, part of a great asset to our city. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Alder. Alder Morgan?
I would like a little clarification. Now, you say it is approved for CBRF. Is this fall into that category? I mean, it's actually rehabilitating people that have issues. A CBRF, I've always thought, was where you could have elderly residents stay there and they're taken care of. They don't have the issues that a lot of these people have. So does actually this fall into that category?
So the applicant really submitted for the property for a community living arrangement, which is the CLA, which allows 3 or more adults not related to the operator to reside in the facility. So it's really not the CBRF; it's the CLA.
And the way this is written now, a CLA would pass. I keep
Yes,
hearing
the
CBRF.
original PUD states that a community living arrangement shall be permitted in accordance with the state statutes that it's listed. We've amended that just to clarify community living arrangements to the updates that were made in the state code.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alder. Anything else? Alder Stevens?
All right, thank you everybody for that discussion. There's two things that I've taken away from this is security seems to be a major issue with the residents over there. So if it's possible, I would like to amend or improve on this PUD. There's 4 items I was thinking about, but 2 of them I think we're going to possibly move forward with is additional lighting at the property and a focus on security cameras. Talked to the attorney previously and Cheryl. Lighting right now in the PUD, it's basically on what the current code exists, but we can improve on that. We can add and ask for additional lighting. So I would ask that we do additional lighting at all entrances and extra exit points as approved by the zoning administrator. Regarding security cameras, I think it would be us to focus on to make sure that there are exterior cameras located throughout the grounds. Those would be my 2 items that I like to put on the
Okay, Alder Stevens makes that amendment. It was seconded by Alder Johnson. Any comments either from Director Renier Wig or Attorney Bungert? Is that specific enough for us? Okay, great. So there's an amendment made. Second discussion on that amendment. Seeing none, all in favor will say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The amendment has been adopted. Motion to approve as amended was made by Alder Stevens, seconded by Alder Johnson. Discussion on that. Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and that motion is approved. All right. Thanks so much to our guests for the input there. We are now on to report of the Redevelopment Authority. Motion to approve made by Alder Johnson, seconded by Alder Hinkfist. Any items to be handled separately? Hearing none, all in favor will say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. That report has been approved. Report of the Improvement and Services Committee. Motion to approve made by Alder Presley, seconded by Alder DeLee. Items here to be handled separately? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. That report has been approved. Protection and Policy. Motion to approve made by Alder Stevens and seconded by Alder Johnson. Items here to be handled separately. Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and that report has been approved. Next is Protection and Policy Committee granting operator licenses. Motion to approve by Alder Profit, seconded by Alder DeLee. Names here to be handled separately or abstentions? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Next would have been Planning Commission, but we already dealt with that. Finance Committee. Motion to approve made by Alder Profit, seconded by Alder Johnson. Items here to be handled separately? Hearing none, all in favor will say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and that report has been approved. Next is report of the Park Committee. Motion to approve made by Alder Profit and seconded by Alder Johnson. Looks like we have someone here who would like to speak on. Sounds good. Alder Eck makes a motion to handle 1 and 2 separately. Seconded by Alder DeLee. All in favor of the remainder of that report will signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The report has been approved with the exception of items 1 and 2 on the Park Committee. First item is to approve the request by Cellcom to return $100,000 donated to the city, initially intended for the Bay Beach Shoreline Improvement Project. The other one related to this, item 2, to approve accepting a donation from Cellcom for the installation of public Wi-Fi infrastructure and 50 months of free public Wi-Fi service valued at $100,000. So that was pulled by Alder Eck.
I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to open the floor.
Alder Eck moves to open the floor, seconded by Alder Johnson. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Floor is open.
Mayor, Alders, some of you may know me. I'm Dave Charles. I'm the president of the Friends of Bay Beach. And we've been working for years to develop the beach and raise some money. I think we're a little north of 12 or 14 million now. Things are going really well.
And then
So
just your
I know.
just your address, sir.
Oh, my home address is 5845 North Shore Acres. But anyway, I know you're running behind. You had the big meeting, so we'll try and get through this quickly. It's really simple. We would like to request that relative to giving back the $100,000 which Cellcom donated to Bay Beach and is now trying to back out of, we would request a simple no vote on the return. And this would also request a no vote on the installation of the internet services with the $5,000 a year annual fee. The Friends of Bay Beach met, we looked at it, we talked about it, and we really believe that if we start opening up a lot of these issues to going back 2-3 years, it sets a horrible precedent and it makes it very difficult to raise funds. I don't know what the situation with Cellcom is, but between the cancellation of the other event and asking for this back, it just seems to be an issue. At the park department meeting, there was some conversation about this big pool of money that's sitting around and not being used, and maybe they should get 100,000 of it. I can tell you, and I'm sure Park and Rec can go through all the things that we have to do there. And between the pier and the boardwalk and a number of the current issues, there's no surplus of cash. In fact, as you may or may not be aware, there still is $4 million worth of debt that we need to clean up on that thing. So we want to make sure that we can complete this project with the funding we have. The $2.5 million that we were fortunate enough to get will help with the pier, but I'm pretty sure that pier is going to look more like $3.5 or $4 million, and so there just is no slush fund relative to this whole internet installation. That's sort of a political thing you guys got to figure out. From the Friends of Bay Beach standpoint, I think just about everybody in the Brotherhood has a cell phone, has internet on it. So for 90 days a year to install internet at the park and then spend $5,000, which could be much better spent on a number of other things, I would really hope we don't consider doing that and getting that done. And for what it's worth, we did look at it. And again, we checked and got a quote at $22,000 to do the installation and about $600 a year to maintain it if somebody really wanted to do that. But again, I would hope that we get a no vote there. Just sort of a fact. I mean, this thing sort of is a bit of an irritant. Cellcom already took a write-off on this donation. They made this, 3 years ago, and so the federal government and the state governments all subsidized that by giving them a nice deduction for this loan, and so to kind of ask back that money seems to be an issue. And as I'm aware, in the history of the city, nobody's ever welched on one of these donations and said, "Give me my money back 3 years later." And so this is just something we got to be really careful with. I mean, we've raised $2.5 million this year. We got the new handicap accessible playground. We got the new transport train. We got the new, one of the best restroom facilities ever built in the public municipality for taking care. I don't want to go back to these people in 3 years and they say, "I changed my mind. Could I have some money back?" So please be careful if you start looking at that. Last but not least, the park has this bond that we're trying to pay off, and the Friends of Bay Beach is absolutely committed. I know Park Department is, I know Mayor is, and we just don't have room to get rid of $4 million worth of debt and start giving money back. So that's a big one. Sorry, I got a little long-winded. I'm passionate about the park. I'm passionate about what it does for the community, the youth of the community, the families, being able to go there and do this. So yeah, I'm absolutely irritated by a Green Bay company that, does everything they're doing, coming back and going, "Yeah, could we have our 100,000 back that we gave a few years ago?" So please, would you do everything possible to protect Bay Beach and make sure that these funding's there to go ahead and do that? And please vote no on both of those. Thank you very much. And if there's anything I can do to help or answer, I'll be happy to.
Thank you, Mr. Charles. Any questions?
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Do we have anybody on Zoom?
Yes, this is Mick O'Malley.
Great. Yeah, if you could just state your name and address for us and then go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. So my name is Mick O'Malley. I'm a Director of Government Relations and Sustainability at Cellcom. And my address is 2592 South Webster Avenue in Green Bay. And so on January 2nd, 2019, Cellcom donated $100,000 to the Bay Beach Swimming Beach Restoration Project. The company had accumulated funds over many years through our phone recycling efforts, funds that continue to be donated through our Green Gifts program to this day. In fact, 2024 awards included a gift to the City of Green Bay Conservation Corps. At that time, in 2019, we had a very successful recycling program, and we hoped to find a project that could use a more substantial gift. We wanted to give to something that would benefit a wide variety of people in our region. We are different from our competitors in that we take recycling income and turn it right back to our communities to fund green initiatives and programs rather than using it in our own operations. We use those dollars to grow the good in our communities. We provided the $100,000 gift to the City of Green Bay for the restoration of a swimming beach, a record-breaking contribution for us at one time. To us, this was a prime project where our community was making a big step towards clean water in the bay and would provide an asset to be used by people throughout our service area, as the beach amusement park is a regional and even a national attraction. We felt this was a very exciting gift, give back to the community. The project focus has evolved since the gift was made back in 2019. The recently awarded $2.4 million federal grant will be going towards building a pier and improving the paved trail that is along the shore. We don't want to diminish the value of this community project. However, what most closely aligned with Cellcom's goal of improving water quality has been tabled. Over the last year, we've been working with the city to see if we could broaden the scope of the Bay Beach Amusement Park Shoreline Restoration Project and provide a benefit to the local community with the money that we donated back in 2019. After thinking outside the box, a problem to be solved came to light. A Wi-Fi system across the entire property would be a benefit to anyone who visits the park, especially because the area on the bay and is not well served by cellular service in general. The City of Green Bay has expressed interest in public Wi-Fi networks in other city parks, so we knew it is a highly sought-after service. Deploying the new public Wi-Fi network will connect Bay Beach Amusement Park visitors to the internet. Users will be able to attach to the public Wi-Fi network when they arrive and be taken to a Bay Beach Amusement Park landing page. Visitors will be able to use their handheld devices with ease to stay connected to the internet and communicate with friends and family. Above and beyond the Wi-Fi initiatives, but connected to it, we have offered early stage ideas that could incorporate sensors in the water, extending upon the network we deployed with the University of Wisconsin Green Bay that has gotten national attention. Such a system would provide year-round real-time monitoring data to guide knowledge on the health of the potential beach water, how it trends over time, and how it's impacted by storms, runoff, seasons, and ecosystem activity. This data would be immensely helpful in progressing towards a swimming beach someday, and speaks to the original hope and use of the donation towards environmentally focused projects. In order to broaden the scope of the Shoreline project by adding the public Wi-Fi element, the city will return the $100,000 gift to Cellcom, and then we will implement the agreed Wi-Fi project at the same level of monetary value. Cellcom will donate project costs, including hardware, software, and contractor costs at a value of $75,000. Cellcom will also donate internet access and system management at a cost of $25,000, and this includes the $500 per month for 50 months of service. So there is actually no cost to the city for this service for the first 50 months. After that, the city can decide what it wants to do and go from there. If we proceed with real-time monitoring of water quality, it's an even bigger, grander commitment above and beyond the $100,000 donation. So this is a win-win-win project for everybody. The efforts of partners, Cellcom and City of Green Bay, in caretaking our company's groundbreaking $100,000 donation is an excellent example of how we partner with communities. Again, we're not diminishing the value of the city's shoreline restoration project, but we do look forward to approval for our plan. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks so much for your testimony, sir. Any questions for Mr. O'Malley? Alder Profit.
Thank you for providing your testimony this evening. I just wanted to piggyback off what you mentioned. So it kind of seems like this stemmed from the 2.4 million donation to the pier that moved away from the swimming beach restoration. Am I understanding that correct?
Yes, the focus of the project, again, we don't want to diminish the value of the project to the community. However, the focus of the project it changed. So it shifted away from a sustainability focus to more of a kind of an improvement focus. Again, not to diminish the impact of the project in its new form, but it changed. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then one other follow-up question. So you mentioned the deployment of monitoring the water quality on the shoreline. Is that included in our proposal, or did that already go through a different process?
No, that would be separate, and it would not be immediate. We are working with the University of Wisconsin Green Bay on a Green Bay water quality monitoring system, and we've funded the deployment of that system from a wireless connectivity standpoint. And so that would be our plan here as well. But no, it's not included in this initial proposal.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Thanks again, Mr. O'Malley.
Yep.
Anyone else, either in person or on Zoom, who'd like to speak to this? Seeing none. Motion to close the floor made by Alder Eck, seconded by Alder Stevens. All in favor will say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Floor is closed. Alder Eck.
I always forget I'm looking up here. Thank you, Mayor. So I'm the chair of Parks, and originally we did vote to approve the request. After the meeting, I started to kind of think more about it, and it just didn't seem right because the money has already been donated. And I did reach out to Director Ditchite to ask some questions if in fact this was going towards what was intended. And he can clarify, but he did indicate it is. There's 2 phases to the project. This is phase 1, and part of phase 2 is the cleanup and the possible swimming beach. So it's not been tabled, but more, it's just not yet. So my recommendation, and we can let Director Ditchite speak on this, and I also had asked about, were we looking for Wi-Fi at the park? Because I kind of look at it, to me, it's a place for family to get together. And I personally don't really feel comfortable encouraging people to be on their phones while they're out having family time. And so the part of the second part, again, I'm not in favor of it because I don't want to encourage that. So I'm going to make a motion to deny the request by Cellcom to return the $100,000.
Okay. Alder Eck makes a motion to deny the request. Is there a second for that?
Second that.
Seconded by Alder DeLee. We'll go to Director Ditchite just for any comments generally. Alder Eck was kind of questioning the staging of the project. So if you just wanted to kind of update people on that aspect of things and anything else.
Yeah, so I know that not everyone on the city council was involved with the phasing proposal for this. So a few years ago, it was determined we didn't have enough money to complete the entire project, which included the swimming beach, a bathhouse, shoreline walkway replacement, and then also a pier that juts out into the bay. That was the original proposal when Mayor Schmidt went out and sought donations. Since we found out that there wasn't enough money to do the entire project a few years into the project, the Parks Committee and City Council approved a phasing plan. So phase one is to include the installation of the pier, the shoreline walk, stormwater management, which is required, and then follow through with a debt reduction plan, which we would implement and refinance in 2026. The shoreline, the beach portion of it, and the bathhouse would be phase two, and it would be after the refinancing package is done. And after you heard from Cellcom just now, although when the donation was originally given, all of those components were built into it other than the refinancing, their main interest was the habitat portion.
Thanks, Director. Alder Profit on the motion.
Thank you, Director Ditchite. Could you possibly give us some figures for the cost of phase one and the cost of phase two? And they don't have to be exact, but just like rough numbers.
I don't have that information in front of me right now, but when we accepted the grant, what I can tell you is there is enough money between the donated money and the grant money to complete phase one, which is the shoreline walkway, the pier, and then also continue with the refinancing. If this gets approved for the 100,000, in essence, what that means is the 100,000 that would have gone towards the phase one and the refinancing, there would be $100,000 less in that big pot of money for all of it. Simply because Wi-Fi was not in the original phasing plan that was approved.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Any other comments on that motion? Alder Johnson.
Yeah, Director Ditchite, just again seeking a little bit more clarity around the phasing, right? In phase two, the intent is to put in a beach. Do we have a sense of timing on that? And I know you said you don't have the numbers, right? But is the impediment there the funding, or is it something else, permitting?
Primarily, initially, it'll be the funding because, like I mentioned, what was approved by the City Council was to complete phase one and spend as much money as we have remaining to pay off as much of a debt as possible when we refinance in 2026. So come 2026, we won't have any money for phase two available. So initially it would be, finding the funding to do it. Secondly, the permit for the beach that we received from the DNR has already expired. So that would be the next hurdle that we would have to overcome is we would have to pull another permit to install a swimming beach. So those would be the first two steps.
So up to this point, though, and if my memory serves me right, council hasn't come off the concept of a beach. It was just that the boardwalk and the pier were prioritized based on order of operations.
Correct.
Okay.
Thanks, Alder. Any other questions or comments? Alder Profit for a second time.
Yeah, I just have one other comment. I just want to appreciate Cellcom for a moment that they did donate $100,000 to this project. And though it might have deviated from what their initial investment was, I do still think that there's a sustainability element with that stormwater infrastructure that was done with the pier. And it sounds like we're still on track to put that beach in as well. So just want to recognize that they did come forward with a $100,000 donation to our city, and just want to appreciate that. But I am in favor of the motion that's before us in denying and shifting to Wi-Fi, just because we need to see this project continue to move. So that it sounds like that $100,000 is vital where it's at right now.
Any other comments? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor will say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. and that motion succeeds. That's a motion to deny the request by Cellcom to return the $100,000. We're now on to item 2 to approve accepting a donation. Entertain a motion there. Alderek.
Hi,
Oh,
can I speak?
Not as of yet, Mr. O'Malley.
I'm going to make a motion to deny.
Alderek makes a motion to deny on item 2. Is there a second for that? Second by Alder DeLee. Obviously, hearing somebody would like to speak. Alder Weary makes a motion to open the floor. Seconded by Alder Johnson. All in favor will say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The floor is open. Mr. O'Malley, go ahead.
Hi, I want to, thank you for your time tonight. We still believe that the focus of the project has shifted, and that the grant that we made over 6 years ago of a very, very large amount of money in our vision has shifted. And it's, we weren't planning and we weren't going to be charging the city anything for this. I would, instead of having a motion to kind of deny, could we instead move it back to staff and try to continue to work on this? I think our, I don't want to go any further than that. I would like to make that request if at all possible.
Okay, appreciate those comments. Any questions for Mr. O'Malley? All right, thanks again, sir.
Motion to close the floor.
Motion to close the floor made by Alder Johnson and seconded by Alder Prophet. All in favor will say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Alder Eck made a motion to deny. Was it seconded? Seconded by Alder DeLee. On that motion, any comments or questions? Alder Johnson.
Again, recognizing that the item before us is what council's taking action on, but I don't think there's anything that would prohibit staff from continuing to at least have a dialogue, right? I mean, I want to make sure that I'm not misunderstanding that, but so I think regardless of the outcome, if there is more conversation that Cellcom would like to have with staff, I'd certainly invite and encourage them to do that.
Okay, thanks, Alder. Director Ditchite, any comments just on that suggestion from Alder Johnson?
No, I'm always willing to listen to suggestions, and if they have an alternate idea, if this motion fails or succeeds and they want to have additional discussions, I'll sit down with Cellcom and see what ideas they have.
Great. Thanks, Director. I would obviously second those remarks as well. Happy to participate in any meetings to come with Cellcom. Alder Johnson?
Just to further clarify, Mayor, I think procedurally, we wouldn't be able to bring back the exact same motion, but my understanding is that any other motion could be brought forward in the future if staff and Cellcom had another proposal they wanted. But seems like the tea leaves are overwhelming in favor of what's on the floor right now.
Okay. Any other comments on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor will say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and that motion succeeds. On to the report of the Personnel Committee. Motion to approve made by Alder Galvin, seconded by Alder Prophet. Any items here to be handled separately? Yes. All right, item 3, any others? Seeing none others, all in favor of approving the remainder of that report will signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The report has been approved with the exception of item 3. Your wishes on that, Alder Hinkvis.
In speaking with Director Faulds, we do not have it. It's not totally finished as far as the document to put out for us to be able to read the fine print. Okay. So he asked that we put it on hold for the next meeting.
Second. All right. Alder Hinkvis makes a motion to hold this item over until the next meeting, not our budget meeting, but the next normal meeting of our Common Council. And that was seconded. Next personnel meeting. Okay. That is the motion made by Alder Hinkvis and seconded by Alder Johnson. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, all in favor will say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and that motion has been approved. Report of the Traffic, Bicycle, and Pedestrian Commission. Motion to approve made by Alder Stevens and seconded by Alder Prophet. Items here to be handled separately. Hearing none, all in favor will say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. That report has been approved. Sustainability Commission. Motion to approve made by Alder Presley, seconded by Alder Stevens. Items here to be handled separately. Seeing none, all in favor will say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. That report has been approved. Equal Rights Commission. Motion to approve made by Alder Stevens, seconded by Alder Presley. Items here for separate consideration. Seeing none, all in favor will say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. That report has been approved. Next, a couple of informational items. Building report for October 2024 and municipal court monthly financial report for October 2024. Those are included in the packet. Resolutions. Alder Profit makes a motion to suspend the rules and take up these items with one roll call vote. That was seconded by Alder DeLee. All in favor will say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The rules are suspended. Motion to adopt made by Alder Profit, seconded by Alder Presley. Any discussion? Seeing none, we will use the board. All right, and those are adopted unanimously. On to ordinance's first reading. Motion to suspend the rules has been made by Alder Profit and seconded by Alder Galvin. All in favor will say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The rules are suspended. Alder Johnson.
Sorry, just a point of order, Mayor. Wanted to confirm if item 3 on Borneman Street would automatically adopt the amendments that were made.
Good question. Attorney Bungert.
Yep. I think to make sure that the record is clearly reflected as to the amendments, we should probably make the amendments to the ordinance and adopt as amended.
Okay, sounds good. So the suspension motion is just maybe for 1, 2, and 4?
Yeah, I think that's what Alder Profit meant, right?
Yeah, I think so. All right, that motion has been made and seconded. All in favor will say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The rules are suspended for items 1, 2, and 4. Motion to advance made by Alder Presley and seconded by Alder DeLee. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor will say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and those ordinances are advanced to a second and final reading. We're now on item 3. Alder Stevens. Yeah, make a motion to amend to add those lighting and security camera requirements.
Second.
Alder Stevens makes that motion and is seconded by Alder Johnson. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, all in favor will say aye. Opposed, nay. You guys have it. That amendment is adopted. Motion to advance as amended, made by Alder Johnson, seconded by Alder DeLee. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and that has been advanced. No petitions and communications. Adjournment. Motion to adjourn made by Alder Presley, seconded by Alder DeLee. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We're adjourned. Thanks, everyone.